Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since our last video, even though I said we would start doing them with more regularity upon concluding of the previous video several weeks back. But as usual, life gets in the way sometimes, and it is what it is. But here we are. Today I figured we would take a few moments and just look through some early generation ANACS coins, primarily first and second generation ANA or ANACS coins. Which are in these small white soapbox holders. Also, later generations, like the first two you see on screen, are not first or second generation. Obviously, you can tell by the font and the barcode, which doesn't exist on the original early slab ANA coins from the mid-1980s. Prior to the encapsulation era, which really started in 1986 with the birth of PCGS. Prior to that, ANA had been using a photo grade system going back as far as 1972. I'm sure some of you know that, but maybe some of you do not, that photo grades really started in 1972 and ran all the way until 1986 when they were replaced with the encapsulation. During the birth of PCGS in 1986, we saw a lot of other companies, such as AccuGrade, PCI, Blanchard, and a bunch of others, all started encapsulating their coins. NCI comes to mind, and many of them were actually very good. They didn't last, but most of those earlier grading services were quite conservative and really right in line with PCGS. PCGS ended up being the gold standard, and they ended up surviving the test of time. And here they are today with really, NGC has kind of run alongside with them for many years. A lot of people consider NGC second to PCGS, but there are many people that look at it the other way around. And since CAC started grading coins a couple of years ago, they've kind of put a lot of pressure on PCGS and NGC. And in my opinion, both companies have gotten a lot tighter with their grades since CAC added grading to, not only stickering coins. They're, separate entities, separate corporations, run in different offices in different locations. PCGS certainly doesn't want the reputation that anybody is not just stricter than them, but overall more consistent, more respected. They want their coins to hold the most value and be the most reputable. So with all that said, we'll take a peek at some of these first and second gen Aeration ANA and some later ones. Obviously, they're not all first and second generation, but most of these are. We'll throw a curveball in here. This wasn't shown on the opening slide, but this is an 1840 seated Liberty half dollar. A beautiful coin, graded XF45. Might make AU today. It's got a lot of luster, and it's got really not a lot of wear. You can see the beautiful natural toning on both sides, which is, you got some golds and ambers mixed in with blues and greens, and it's just very, very attractive. I really think it's an AU50, maybe even a 53 by today's strict standards even. So I think XF45 is fine. I like them conservative. You'll also notice here, this is a WB, which is the Wiley Bugert catalog attribution system for seated coinage. R5 is quite scarce. This is the micro O variety. That O is designed for the seated dimes, and the WB102 is actually quite scarce. I'm looking at the NGC variety attribution page, and it shows that there are 272 1840 O's in all grades graded by NGC, and only 6 with the micro O And let's see, there is one in fine 15, one in very fine 30, one in 45, which matches what we have here, and then one in AU 53. Let's see, is there any in mint state? I don't see any in mint state. So AU 53 is a top pop for the Wiley Bugert with NGC. Of course, you know, there's going to be some that don't have the variety attribution on the holder, but that is quite a scarce and desirable variety for the seated $50 collector and enthusiast, and you know, one that I would really have no desire to send in for crossover or reconsideration. I think it's just fine where it is right now. Whether it's undergraded or not is up to ultimately who will be the next custodian of this coin. But I've had this coin for a long time and have no plans on doing anything other than holding on to it for now. And then obviously this is not a first or second generation. This is famously referred to as an ANACS soapbox, which came out in the early 90s, and green label with the barcode, probably mid-90s on this one here, a beautiful 1878 with the 8-tail feather variety, the scarcer of them all, and really clean cheek and surfaces with great luster and really pretty toning around the rim, around both rims. Just a wonderful lustrous example with a little bit of contrast going on. So just, I think it's properly graded, very close to gem level. Might even be 64 plus, but pluses didn't exist when this coin was graded. And then another one in the same style holder. As a matter of fact, the cert number is just a couple thousand higher. The other one was 244 it started with, so this one was graded at a similar era. Very pretty, colorful toning. I don't use rainbow unless it's really a rainbow, and it's not quite a rainbow, although it does, some people would call it that. You get a lot of magenta and gold and earthy tones in there, and just very pretty. Obviously this is a 7/8, a VAM 33, the weak type, and the weak is referring to the tail feathers down below the eagle, where, let me get a pointer if I can find one here. You can see the outline of tail feathers right in between those two tail feathers. And you only see a little bit of it, which is why it's the weak variety. There is a strong variety, which is a lot more desirable and also a lot more valuable than the weak variety, although I think this coin, with its beautiful toning and the older holder, and the VAM 33, which is not a rare VAM, but it is attributed, and I think this coin has a lot going for it. So even though it's the weak variety, I think there'd be a little bit of a spike in value as well as interest. And then we have the regular 7/8, the strong variety. This one, PL is not really showing so well on the camera here. I don't know if it would make PL today. It's very tough to make PL today. This is definitely reflective, and it's definitely got proof-like qualities. I don't think it would make by today's standard, and that's pretty common. Coins graded in the mid-80s through the mid to late 90s were graded differently when it came to the PL qualification. It was more, it wasn't as much reliant upon the mirrors as it was, you know, there had to be some level of cameo, which doesn't really have to exist today. Today it's strictly the mirrors. If the mirrors are uninterrupted and at least 3 to 4 inches, without any sign of interruption, you have, that's the main main requirement for today, versus when this coin was graded, it wasn't really all about the mirrors. There's definitely reflectivity. I just don't think there's enough, especially on the obverse. The reverse, there is more reflectivity. You can see more of the of the 7/8, there's 1, 2, you can see the 3 parts right under those 5th, 6th, and 7th tail feathers, and a little bit under between the 2nd and the 3rd. Probably can't zoom in enough with this camera. Those light bulbs aren't helping, but you might be able to catch a little bit of a... You can see the little nubules of the end of the tail feathers. You can see there's a lot more of them showing on 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Those 4 middle ones right there from tail feather 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can see how that is a little bit more prominent than the weak variety. So another beautifully toned example, whether it's PL or not PL. You know, that's, to me, it's semantics. It certainly adds to the value, but for me, it's just really mostly about the eye appeal, the original surfaces and the eye appeal of the coin. Let's see, somehow these got mixed up. Let me see. Okay, got it. All right, so here's another 1878, another PL that's questionably PL. This is a San Francisco. Beautiful toning. There is a reflectivity again, but probably not enough by today's standard. But again, I don't think, you know, there you can see the reflectivity pretty good there. And you can see it there as well, the watery. But it's not enough, especially on the right side of the obverse. This probably almost certainly wouldn't make that today, but it still, again, doesn't, in my opinion, you know, reduce the desirability of the coin. Here's another 78S in another soapbox. Very clean surfaces, very clean cheek. Couple of marks below the eye to the right of the nose. And other than that, it's pretty clean. That one little mark, horizontal mark there, right around the middle of the cheek. It's very small. The camera's magnifying what it really looks like in hand, but I mean, look at those fields. Struggle to find even the smallest bag mark. And this one, which is not PL, has similar amount of reflectivity as the last, but really nothing on the reverse. Mostly frosty, satiny luster. Really pretty, even for a coin without as much toning as you see with a lot of these. You can tell the surface is a very original. A coin that's been dipped tends to be a little bit more muted luster, and although there's no way to prove if a coin has been dipped or not, which is why grading services allow them in. You know, if it was dipped, it certainly was dipped a lot lighter. 79.0, a little bit of a better date. I think I attributed this as a VAM7, which I forget what the die characteristics are now, but pretty sure that's what this one is. We can see the Generation 1 has the blue writing with the genie lamp, and Generation 2, when we get to it, let me show you an example of a Generation 2. We'll have the ANACS symbol and the green writing. Here's an ADS with a dimple, and this one probably is certainly PL by today. It might be dimple, it's close. Really hard to capture the reflectivity in this light box and using an iPad. But there's definitely very deep mirrors on this one. Again, whether it makes today's grade, it's, you know, probably not because of the toning, but it's close, and it's very pretty, and, you know, just a very desirable piece. Another one that's questionable with the PL. You can see the reflectivity on the obverse, but that toning sort of interferes with the clarity of the mirror. 81S, 64. Seems numerically graded correctly. And then certainly a lot less mirror on the reverse. So this one, I can pretty comfortably say it would not make it today. Again, it doesn't really take away from the eye appeal of the coin itself. And there is some, you know, reflectivity, but nowhere near enough for what it should have by today's standard. And then you've probably seen this one, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. It's 81S and 66. I've had this forever, shown it a few times. I love that reverse. The color scheme is just pretty amazing in my opinion. Very full, very thick. All the different colors blending, especially down around $1, working their way up by the wreath. Those colors are just pretty phenomenal. There's really hardly any marks at all on this coin. There's the toning spots on the cheek, but there's really no bag marks to speak of anywhere. Really hard to get above a 65. I've only seen a couple in these holders. And there's that one, and then the one we just took a peek at a second ago, which I bought a few months ago. So I've had this one only about 6 months. 81S and 82S, the only two in MS66 that I have at the moment. And I've only seen a couple over the years. And when I see them, I aggressively try to get them when they're available. Here's a beautifully toned 83 and MS65. Really deep, colorful toning. If the whole coin was toned in that color, it would be close to terminal. And if we had a little more of a blend to some lighter colors as we reach towards the portrait, then you'd really have a monster tone coin. But I think the dark, in the way that it blends to like splotchy mottled toning almost, would kind of hold it back from that monster category, which is similar to rainbow. I never use those terms. Is another PL that, again, it is more proof-like than what the camera is showing. There's definitely more reflectivity, and this one I think is close. I've studied all these many times, and one day I'm thinking it definitely is, the next day I'm thinking it definitely isn't. And I know if you're looking at it in these images with this camera and light box, it's you'd say it's definitely not, but looking at it in hand, there's a lot more reflectivity than I'm able to capture. In the same date, this one with the deep mirror, you can definitely see the difference in the reflectivity. And again, there's even more than what the camera is showing. It's just hard to capture those mirrors using an iPad. In this $25 light box. I think the grade is fair. There are some bag marks and some some other marks on the cheek. We have another dimple. This one might be the strongest mirrors of them all. It's 84.0. Very reflective on both sides. Very deep. I think this one's a no doubter. You get a little bit of that cameo effect. The eagle's got a nice frost, and not quite as nice on the portrait, but it's definitely there with the cameo. The black fields, white devices type of look, which is always highly desirable. We have a couple 85Os, although one has been sent off to Great Collections to be consigned after it sat on eBay for 4 or 5 weeks with really not much action, so it'll be interesting to see how it ends there. This one has more pastel toning, very pretty, deep toning. Such a common date. This one tends to not get as much attention as most other dates. Always minimal interest in the 85O as well as the 84O. 87O, a little bit of a better date. second generation, decent toning, properly graded in my opinion. And then another 87.0, which I know I've shown many times. Bought from another guy who loves his ANA coins about a year or so ago. Really hard to see the reflectivity through this deep, very rich toning, but it's there. But again, I don't think they would PL it today just because of the toning really hindering the reflectivity. But it's there's no doubt that it's got mirrored surfaces and reflectivity. Just the deep color of that toning will prevent being able to see those mirrors as well. A little bit of a better date, this 88.0, another PL 63 seems to be fair. I like it as a 63. Nice mirrors on the obverse. I don't think there's any doubt on that. And on the reverse as well. Very pretty coin. Really nice toning down around the bottom and around the rim. That electric neon blue, very famous type of toning on these ANA coins. And then a date you don't see all that often. This 89.0, I've had this for quite some time. Second generation with the green writing. And you can see where it came from. That was bought, I want to say, back in 21 or 22. I've had at least 4 or 5 years. You can look at the eagle's breast, and you'll see that the individual breast feathers are mushy at best, non-existent maybe even, which is very common for this date. This date is amongst the poorest struck of all dates in the Morgan Dollar Business Strike series. But, you know, obviously the way the luster rolls over those high points, if you're looking at just at the chest, doesn't turn dark. Everything free flows. A lot of people struggle when it comes to telling the difference between a poor strike and wear, and it can be tricky. When there's wear, the luster will stop and it will actually turn dark. Fairly common date, 90S, certainly not a rare date by any stretch, and just a run-of-the-mill MS63, first generation, pastel toned. Nothing too spectacular there. Here's a 91S, another borderline PL. We've got some mirrors on the front, probably not enough on the obverse, I should say. It's definitely reflective, but I don't think they would give it. And even less on the reverse. So I think between the fact that the obverse is borderline and the reverse is pretty much nowhere near enough, in my opinion. So it's hard to say what they were looking at 35 years ago. The toning may have been different then. And again, the standards are a little bit different. But again, it's still a desirable coin in this holder. Here's a date that I always struggle to find in any holder, the 97S. This one is a fairly recent ad within the last few months. Found this on an obscure auction site. Didn't have a lot of attention, and it actually went. I think this one sold for under $100, which I didn't argue. I paid as quickly as they sent the invoice. Very pretty coin. Just a few more, and mostly better dates, like this 99P, which is always a popular date. I think only 324,000 were minted, if my memory serves me right. Beautiful toning. The 99P is always a favorite with collectors for its low mintage. And we got beautiful toning on the reverse and a nice strike. And just a very pretty coin all the way around. And we have this, speaking of Blanchard, this 99S. graded 60 plus, MS60 plus. When this coin was graded, there were 3 mint state grades for the most part, MS60, 63, and 65. You would once in a while see MS67 for the super gems, but almost all mint state grading when the encapsulation started in 1986 really limited it to those 3 grades, and a lot of coins were kind of in between. And this one didn't make 63, although it probably would have. Doesn't have that many contact marks. The luster is really good. The strike is really, it's not completely full, but it's strong. What's really holding it back are, let's see if I can capture them. Okay, right at that angle, I almost caught them. Let me see if I can get a better angle. There's like slide marks here. I don't know if that's a wheel mark. Might be a wheel mark, which would be a details grade nowadays. They didn't really use the details grades. Now you can see it better there. They didn't use the details grades back in, when they first came out with the, they just net graded them. So you do have a pretty large contact mark there, a bag mark there. But this probably, without those wheel marks, this might make 63. Probably 62 without a doubt. So 60 plus, it's kind of a combination of that slide mark, wheel mark, whatever it is, and just being shy of 63 with or without it. But the 99S is still a very scarce coin in a mint state grade, and one that I've held on to. I did put it up for sale a couple times. I pulled it down because of the wheel mark. I didn't want someone to be disappointed, whether or not I try to explain it to them. The public tends to not always pay attention to, especially long-winded write-ups, which I'm famous for. This 1902, a little bit of a better date, the Philadelphia 1902, certainly more scarce than the New Orleans. Nice toning on both sides. Decent strike. Run-of-the-mill MS63 first generation. And I think we just have a couple left. We have a 1903 with beautiful toning in the MS65 grade, which is always nice to see. Again, pretty scarce for these holders. Beautiful toning. That electric neon blue we talked about earlier, and that sunrise, sunset, reddish orange, gold hues in the background, and just electric. Really pretty coin in hand, even more so than what the video is showing. And then last, but certainly not least, as common as this date is, and here we are, the second generation, 040, as common as the day is long, but the toning is definitely not common. And it's pretty similar to the last coin, maybe not quite as electric, but maybe a little more full. That blush, magenta slash, I call it sunrise, red sky at night, sailor's delight. Maybe more of a red sky in the morning type here. Dark, very dark around the rim. You got hints of that neon blue trying to pop through, but a very thick patina. And you can see the chest is flat. That is not wear. That's a weak strike. You can see how the luster just rolls over the highest point. Definitely no wear. And again, it can be a challenge for some, especially when the coin is so deeply toned, and all the different toning patterns and the dark color of it can make this one a real challenge to grade, especially through the plastic. So again, when we buy coins, we not only trust the grade on the holder or the dealer we're buying it from, we need to use our own eye and determine if we agree with what we see. Not only that, more importantly, if we like what we see. It's, often preached, collect what you like, collect what you know. and specialize in a couple areas and become an expert in your field. All of those good habits that are preached until someone's trying to sell you or oversell you or sell you things you don't necessarily like or want or need, and they try to change those positive habits with more that are for their own interest. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to leave any comments. A like, a subscribe are always appreciated. I know my videos are long and maybe put some people to sleep, but again, we appreciate your time at samscoinsandheavymetal.com. On the web, you find us on eBay under the same name with underscores between each word. We're also on USA Coin Book under the name Jimmy Page is Great. And you can send us an email at samscoinsandheavymetal@gmail.com. Wishing you all a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We'll catch you in the next one.